try to make it fun and not feel like we're in class. But our first speaker is going to be Fowler Williams. He is the director, CEO, and president at Crescent Mortgage. Since he's been there in the last 20 years, the company has closed $40 billion worth of loans. It is a national loan company, so I think he'll have some great information for you guys.
What? Calm down, calm down. All right, guys, let's have some fun. You're here on a Saturday. It's beautiful outside, right? Is everybody having a good day? Yep, everybody got food, empanadas, good stuff. Let me get this fixed or I'll fidget with it the whole time. All right. Everybody want to buy a house? We're going to talk a little bit today. Why do what are the reasons that somebody would want to buy a house versus renting? We're going to talk about some myths that we hear a lot when we talk to people about especially getting their first home and what the realities are. It's a little bit of a crazy market. Has anybody heard anything about that? Just lots of houses out there waiting for you to come by, make a lowball offer, not give a down payment, and the sellers love it and accept it immediately. That's coming up a lot, right? Anybody heard of inflation lately? Yep. If you go to a gas pump or buy anything that had to get to where you bought it by using gasoline, it's gone up in price. So certainly a lot going on in the economy. I'll try not to bore you to death. Another thing that we see a fair amount of is there are some common mistakes that we see people make in the home buying process that could have been avoided, And so we're going to talk about some of those and maybe how to budget a little bit and what's really involved in owning a home, because I'm certainly not up here to say every person in the world needs to buy a home. Okay? It's not for everybody. If we had a 100% home ownership rate, I would be scared. It's not for everybody. There's some questions that you need to ask yourself. I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago and they said, yep, I'm in Atlanta, I want to buy a house. So great, how long have you been in Atlanta? 6 months. How long are you staying? Probably another 6 months. You, sir, should be a renter. There's a time investment involved with it. So I want to make this isn't that big of a crowd, so let's make it, a little more personable. I'm Fowler. Ask me questions. If you have something as I'm talking, just ask. There's food. Feel free to come get. I'm going to stay out of the way of food, but let these guys see me back here. Oh, Lord. Anybody else have a question? No. The microphone is for the video, unfortunately. I will try to talk louder. Okay. Thank you. So, why own versus rent? When is it a good idea to buy something versus renting? And that's a personal question, right? We make, I don't even know, 1,000 mortgage a month. Every one of them is different. Everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got a different reason. I want to buy a home because of X, Y, Z. My reason's not going to be the same as your reason. Why do you want to buy a house? As an investment. Okay. Why would you like to buy a house?
The neighbor that lives above me is a tap dancer.
Fair. It's probably the best reason I've heard in a long time. Best reason I've heard. There are a lot of reasons. There's personal reasons, there's financial reasons, and sometimes those cross, right? Finances are personal, We see a lot of people that want to buy a home for independence, I'm going to show everybody I'm finally all grown up. It's time for me to buy a house. That's what my parents did, or that's what I think you're supposed to do when you're a grown up. I want to buy my own house. Family growth. Anybody in here family growing anytime soon? Nobody? Okay. Absolutely. Question, do dogs count? The National Association of Realtors did a study 2 years ago of first-time home buyers. For the first time, one of the top 3 reasons was pet. Pet as a top 3 reason. I said pet as a top 3 reason to buy a house, because that is difficult in a 1-bedroom apartment. We all know it, right? Certain generations are waiting longer to get married. Just statistically, not everybody individually, but certain generations that probably most of you guys fall into are waiting longer to get married than they were 10, 15 years ago. They're waiting longer to have children than they were 10 or 15 years ago. And I say it's because you're smarter, right? So don't look at that as a negative. I think that's a positive. I got married way too young. I'm sorry, is this on? Yeah. So location, convenience. Has anybody's job changed from what they were doing roughly 2 years ago pre-COVID? Right? Yeah, you come on in. Come on. Can you work from home a little bit more in some positions and not have to be physically tied or tethered to, I have to live in Midtown because my office is there, I don't want to commute, I got to pay more to live in the city. You know what some of the top states people are moving to right now that are seeing the top population growth? Idaho, Montana, South Dakota, because it doesn't matter where you live for a lot of these jobs. What's the number one state people are leaving? California. Turn the lights out on the way out. Huge mass exodus from California because the home prices are too high. Taxes are too high. You can't make a middle class living in California and own a home. Can't do it. Can't do both. The lowest selling property in San Francisco last year was over $880,000. That was the lowest selling property. It was a one bedroom tied between two other units. That was the bottom. Okay. So a lot of should I buy, should I rent can depend on where do I live. You know, if we're meeting right now and we're in Oakland, I would say it's probably better off to rent. You know, the cost to rent's cheaper than the cost to own in some areas. It's not in Atlanta, and we'll cover that. So what about financial reasons? Right? If you think about this, if you own a home on a fixed rate mortgage, okay, nothing tricky, nothing crazy, you have set that the payment that I'm going to make for my living expense will never change. It won't change. Now, your taxes might go up, your homeowner's insurance might change, but the 95% of your mortgage payment that's principal and interest you have set in stone for up to 30 years will never change. How many people currently rent right now? How many people's had their rent go up in the last 2 or 3 years? How many people know that the next time your lease is coming up, it's time to pay the piper? Inflation. You know, and this is not a political talk, so don't make it one. But inflation means that your dollar yesterday was worth more than your dollar today. It takes more dollars to buy the same amount of goods or services. The easiest way I can explain inflation is everything at the dollar store now costs $1.25. I'm serious. That's inflation, okay? So as rent goes up every year, I don't know many tenants that sign a 30-year lease guaranteeing their rent. Atlanta's not Manhattan or these places that have some laws with rent control, right? So you could have started out at $1,200 a month rent. 5 years from now, could it be $3,000? Does that sound out of line? What do you think the average rent is in the city of Atlanta? It's written on the piece of paper in front of you. It's $1,600. Average. That's not the high, that's the average, is $1,600 a month in rent. What is the interest rate on rent? 100%. It's 100%. I want you to think about that. Every dollar you pay for rent, you will never see again. You will never see again. It is 100% interest rate. You will never, ever, ever see a dollar that you paid to rent come back into your pocket. Zero chance. Will never happen. There are only few absolutes in life. That's one of them. How many landlords go, you know what, you've been a great tenant. I'm going to take half the rent you've paid me over the last 2 years, and I want you to take it as you go. I've never had that conversation when I was renting from somebody. That's usually, you might get your deposit back, right? So, owning inflation proof. It is. It's inflation proof. Your payment is fixed. Done. Set. Would that be easier to help budget the next 5 or 10 years of your life, as especially younger folks, knowing, hey, I know what my housing payment's going to be forever if I want it to be. So now I know how much I need to make. I know how much I can put in savings every month. I know how much I can put in my kid's college fund, or can't, you know. But rent has that kind of question mark attached to it. So people say, well, how do I know? Actually, let me finish this thought. If you're paying 100% for rent, you get nothing back but the deposit. You're paying money for your mortgage. Does anybody know what the average mortgage payment is in the city of Atlanta? These are all not just, hey, I heard it at a thing. This is true. What's the average mortgage payment for the city of Atlanta? It's $17 more than renting, on average. $17. Yes, $17 more.
$16,000 or $1,617?
Yes. Yeah, it's on the piece of paper there for you too. Can somebody get Katie a piece of paper, please? So the average rent in Atlanta, $1,607. Average mortgage payment, $1,617. You know, mortgage interest can be tax deductible, right? Do you know that if you decide to sell your primary residence and you make money, so you bought a house, now I'm going to sell that and buy another house. Do you know that that profit is not taxable? Does anybody else make a profit that's not taxable doing anything legal? Legal. Nope. So this was the most staggering thing, and I've been in the mortgage business since I was 20, okay? Since I was 20, I'm not gonna tell you how old I am now, y'all can do the math. But since I've been 20, I've been doing mortgages and help people buy homes. This is the most staggering figure I've ever seen, and I will never do another seminar or talk to potential home buyers without having this on it, forever. It's staggering. Remember the census, right? We've all done the census. Anybody heard of the United States Treasury? They're pretty big, you know, I would say not that political of an organization when they put data out. Federal Reserve Bank, these are all government entities. They did a study that when I read it, I had to make 3 or 4 phone calls to Washington, to somebody I know at the Federal Reserve Bank, to a banker I'm friends with, and said, how could this possibly be true? Like, I always thought it was, but how is it true? All right, hear me out. In 2010, it was found that the average net worth, and before we go further, net worth is assets minus liabilities, right? So I got checking, savings, maybe I have a car, maybe the car's worth $3,000, but I owe $2,000 on it, then that's $1,000 net worth, right? Pretty simple. In 2010, the average net worth, again, average, across the United States, of a renter was $6,010. Average net worth, $6,010. In the same year, the average net worth of a homeowner was $203,850. Average. That's a difference of $198,000. That's pretty good. All right, in 2013, the average net worth of a renter went down to $5,930. The average net worth of the homeowner, almost $215,000. So we're not talking differences of this one's 60 and this one's 73. This one's 50, this one's 52. You're talking differences of $209,000 on average. Average, not the unique, weird cases across the entire country on average. So fast forward to the last year they checked it, 2019, average net worth of a renter, $6,270. Average net worth of a homeowner, $254,900, a difference of $250,000 in net worth, your worth, okay? Now that subtracts the mortgage out. That's a liability, okay? Net worth, think about that. Let that, why is that? It doesn't seem fair. This is the type of thing that the words I like to use, build generational wealth. Generational wealth, okay? That's not me flipping an investment property. That's not me trying to make a buck. Generational wealth. If you don't remember anything I said, after the empanada, a couple of margaritas, which please get drinks and food while I'm here, I don't care. Generational wealth. Passed down and enabled from one generation to the next. Not all of us came from this country, right? This country has not treated home ownership fairly to everybody. You know, until the 1960s, it was legal. It was legal to discriminate in housing. It was legal. Until the Civil Rights Act was passed, it was legal to discriminate in housing. That's not fair. That's not today, right? Everybody should have the same opportunity to build that generational wealth going forward. It's up to you. Can I do it? Can I do it? And we're gonna talk about that. The answer is yes, you can. It might be today. It might be 6 months from now. It could be a year from now. But you have to have a plan. This is probably the largest financial decision most people ever make in their lifetime. You know, which is pretty deep, right? The largest financial decision most people ever make in their lifetime is buying a home. And then buying that next home, and then buying that next home. You know, most people don't make that large of a financial decision for any other product, for any other purchase, other than maybe marriage, but don't listen to me. Outside of that, generational wealth. So, there's some myths involved in buying a house that I want to talk about. How many people know how much you have to put down to buy a house? How much do you have to put down as a down payment? Percentage-wise. 20%? That's the most common answer first-time home buyers say across the country. I have to put down 20% to buy a home. How hard is it to save 20% if your wages aren't going up? Everything you buy is going up, right? Gas, food, everything. And your housing is going up. How am I supposed to save a 20% down payment? What am I, live in a hut, you know? Rub sticks together for fire? No. It's very hard to save a 20% down payment. And most people answer that. And you're absolutely wrong. I love you. Big sexy, you know it. But that's not the right answer. We're going to talk about there are programs where you can put 3% down. There's financial assistance to be able to get into the home. There are grant programs. But in general, as little as 3% down. Or less, right, Ron? 100% loans? Or pretty close to it?
I was thinking about what I was getting ready to say soon, and I did not hear your question.
Yep.
I am so sorry.
You don't need 20% down payment. You do not need a 20% down payment. It's other thing with down payments that a lot of people don't realize. Do you have somebody in life that loves you? Because a lot of times, yeah, that's depressing, I'm sorry. A lot of times it can be a gift from a family member or relative, okay? You can't borrow your down payment. Yeah, you can't borrow your down payment like a loan, but a lot of times it can be gifted if there's a relative or, you know, something that feels nice and wants to help you. How much do people spend on average for a wedding? $52,000. Weddings, $52,000 on average. I don't make it up. $52,000 on average for a wedding. Instead of having a nice wedding, how about I go fund my family's generational wealth for the next 5 generations? But I don't get to wear the pretty dress. You can Photoshop one on. Just ideas, just ideas. The things that we spend money on and don't spend money on, you know, $250,000 house or $200,000 house, 3% down payment is how much? Casey. $6,000. $6,000. All right. So, how many people in here have not, let's be honest, this is honesty time, okay? You're all here for a reason. You want to buy a house. Let's be honest. How many people have not blown $6,000 over the last 3 years in one way or another? Raise your hand if you have not. Wasted $6,000 in one way or another over the last 5 years. $1,000 a year. Yeah, okay. I'm saying it's that you got to have a plan. That's really it. You had a question?
What do you feel about using borrowing from your 401k to make a down payment?
You can borrow. The question is, what do I know about borrowing from a 401k for a down payment? While all 401ks are a little different, most will allow you to take money out of your 401k for a down payment on a home. Now, a lot of times they treat that almost like a loan that you pay yourself back, and that payment would have to be counted in your qualifying ratios, right? But absolutely, that is an option as well, that you can, if you have a 401k, you can most times borrow money out of that 401k for the purposes of purchasing a home. Who knew? Is that true for an IRA, Ron? I think it is. Yeah. Can you borrow money? I know you can borrow money out of the 401k for a down payment on most programs. IRA, I believe, is the same. Yeah, it's the same. Yep. Essentially, the federal government makes several different types of mortgages, or backs. They don't make anything. We know this. They back several different types of mortgages. Anybody hear of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, these type of people? These are government-sponsored enterprises where you get below market interest rates for a long period of time. You know, if you heard about the Depression in the 1930s and the foreclosures, at that time, most mortgages were made as a month-to-month or year-to-year type of loan, meaning next year, you got to come in and apply for a loan on your house every year. Well, what happens when the market tanks, stocks fall, your grains didn't grow for 1 year? You don't qualify. Government takes your house. So Congress had set up these government-sponsored enterprises to be able to offer long-term, fixed interest rate mortgages so that that doesn't happen. You know, back when Congress did something. That was a good idea, right? There's other government programs like FHA we've heard of. That's definitely a good first-time home buyer program. Are there any veterans in the room? Veterans? VA? I think one of the best things the Veteran Administration has ever done is the VA home loan. It is a fantastic, fantastic loan if you qualify. Other myth, it's cheaper to rent than own. Again, in Atlanta, it's not. In some cities, it is. But I say, what's your definition of cheaper, right? Well, it's cheaper just to make the monthly payment on my credit card, the minimum monthly payment. That's cheaper. Is it? No. Is it cheaper? Yeah, I'm just passing and passing and passing, and I never get anything back. If I'm just making the minimum payment, then I'm not really paying off my thing, and so I don't really get anything in return, but it's cheaper. That's kind of the same thought process of buying a home. It's not cheaper to rent. I have to have perfect credit to buy a home. I don't know anybody that has perfect credit. You know, perfect. I've seen your credit. Stop. You do not have to have perfect credit. You do not have to have perfect credit. People talk themselves out of everything. I don't have the credit. I haven't saved the down payment. I know exactly how the government qualifies my income for mortgage payments, and so I'm not ready, and when I'm ready, then I'll find a house. No, you don't. It's hard to know. I don't know. Everything has to get looked, every deal is unique, everything is different, but don't talk yourself out of it. You do not have to have perfect credit for giggle's sake, anything usually north of a 640 credit score down to maybe a 620 credit score. But one of the things that working with a mortgage company that can help you with is, okay, we look at these every day. This is all we do. You do your job, we do our job. This is all we do. We don't make car loans. I don't open checking accounts. I don't build houses. I don't make French fries. We make mortgages. That's it. So we can help you saying, all right, we've pulled your credit. We've looked at your income. You do not qualify for one of these fixed rate 30-year awesome programs right this second, okay? But here's how you do. If you paid this off or did this, you're 2 months away. You're 3 months away. Even if you're a year away, let's go back to the average net worth figure. Is it worth finding out what to actually do instead of, like most of us think in our head, we know what to do. I know my credit's not as good as it needs to be right now. I know I don't have enough income. I've got student loans. That's another one we hear a lot. I can't qualify, I've got student loans. Let me let you in on a secret. Everybody's got student loans, okay? Everybody does, just about. You can count as little as 0.5% of the outstanding balance of your student loans as what is required as a payment. They really don't. It's not what you think. It's not going to stop you from buying a house in most cases, okay? It's a bad time to buy. I've heard that one lately. I think I heard it today, right? Crazy markets, terrible time to buy. Home prices are up. But when are they down? When is a good time? You know? Again, average net worth over 10 years, houses go up a little, they go down a little bit, but if you look at it as a 10-year chart or a 20-year chart, it's straight off a cliff. I mean, they go up in value. There's a return there. Some common mistakes, which that leads us into some common mistakes that we see when people are wanting to qualify for a mortgage. I'm not going to talk to a lender until I find the house I want. Then you see the house. And I love that house. It's so cute. It's got the fence, it's got the thing, it's got the, yeah, and the realtor's shown me, and this is the one. Now I need to talk to a lender. A lot of times we'll see something that had you called me last month or 2 months ago, this is cleared up. We got it. You're ready to go. But the order has to be in the right direction. Manny, as a realtor, do you like showing people homes that don't qualify for the home that you showed them? Why?
Because it's a waste of both of our time.
And you could get emotionally attached to something that doesn't make sense. You know? Yes, ma'am.
So is that where like the appraisal of a home, like if you have a certain amount that you're qualified for a loan and the appraisal comes in higher and the seller won't go down lower, then it's automatically lost?
No, that's not really what we were speaking about. You know, I'm saying that if you wait until you find the home you want before you speak to a mortgage lender, chances are it's not going to work out, period. Okay? There are always some stuff along the way that might be a little, well, we got to get over this, we got to get over this. But had you called me 2 months ago saying, I want to buy a home, what do I need to do? Sometimes we'll say right away, you're good to go. You're good to go. Everything looks great. Here's what you qualify for. Here's the max loan amount we can give you based on everything you've given us. Go shopping. Sometimes people think, I've got perfect credit, I'm all good, I'm awesome. I'll go ahead and talk to you guys, but I know I'm good to go. Sir, we need to talk. You know, we got a couple things on here we need to clear up before you go shopping for a house. And sometimes it can take 30 days or less. You know, sometimes you might have a perfect example. You went out shopping for a car. You went to 4 different dealerships. I couldn't find the car I want, so I went to this dealership, but their interest rate was high, so I went over here, and my cousin's sister, she works over here, so I went there, and they all pulled your credit. What happens? Wah, 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 wah. So, but your mortgage person will know that here's when those drop off your credit report, and your FICO will go back up. So it's going to take 30 days. We need to wait 30 days. We need to get your credit score up. Or you qualify for more if your credit score is 2 points better. There's literally a grid from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, any loan type that says that this credit score, this is how much you can buy, and this is what your interest rate is. So at 699, here's the rate. At 700, here's the rate. Well, if I'm trying to qualify you, right, you can buy this now, or let's get you up 1 point. It's going to take 30 days. Don't try to be the expert. Everybody's got a lot of decisions they have to make in their life. Who doesn't have stress in their life? Let the mortgage person guide you toward this. Okay? If you get the good person, they will create what I call the plan. This is the plan. We need this, 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 and this. You need to do this. Don't buy that new car. Drive that car for another. I had another borrower who decided after we had made loan application, he qualified, put a contract on a home. I said, we have the raise your right hand, don't go buy anything, don't go quitting your job, you know, at least until we get the house closed, right? He called me and said, man, you're gonna be so proud, I paid off all my credit cards this week. Fantastic. Where's your down payment coming from? He's like, oh, but I thought it would make my credit score better and maybe my rate better. How'd that work out? How'd that work out? He's still renting. Work with somebody, create a plan. Your plan's gonna be different than her plan. Her plan's gonna be different from your plan. You might be ready to go today, you need 2 weeks, okay? We can talk about what the expenses are gonna be. I wanna buy a condo versus I wanna buy a house. Do we have a preference? Absolutely not. Buy a condo, you're gonna have a homeowners association. Some houses are gonna have homeowners association. The taxes are higher at the house you're looking at here than the house you're looking at here. That's what we do. That's what we do. We try to act at all times in your best interest. At all times in your best interest. No loan officer gets paid. Here's another myth. The loan officer gets paid based on the interest rate I get. Do you know there's a federal law enacted that that's not the case? Ever. Ever. Our loan officers get paid based on the loan amount, period. They don't upsell, downsell. There's no, here's the rate. Our job is a closing, to help you close, whether it's today, tomorrow. I've had clients that we've worked with for 2 years to get them to the point where you're ready to buy. Had they not done it, it would have taken 6 years, right? You don't need to figure this one out on your own. You've got people that'll back you up. Another mistake is I cannot find my dream home, right? I've put it in my mind that when I walk in, I want granite and vaulted and flat screen and, you know, I want a crib. I call that the unicorn. And I say, you never have to sacrifice your dreams. Sometimes you push them back a little bit. And maybe I get into a house now that's not my fancy unicorn, right? And maybe my next house will be the unicorn. But then I'll have more money because, again, here's the chart. I'll have more money to find that unicorn maybe next time. It's okay to not buy your dream home as your first home. If you ask anybody that's owned 2 or 3 homes, was the first home you bought your dream home? They'll go, yeah, no. But I became a homeowner, and I was able to sell that home and have enough equity to purchase a new home, or even better, I didn't have to sell that home. I didn't have to sell that home. I became a landlord and bought my dream home. And now I rent this home out, and it's income I get every month. Generational wealth. Generational. My favorite, I don't need a realtor, I'll just find my home online. Again, why the stress? When you're buying a home, the seller is paying the commission to the real estate agent. Okay, it's not coming from you. And they're not going to give you a deal for not using a real estate agent. They're somehow just going to keep deals that have a real estate agent, on average, close 3 weeks quicker and at less of a price for having a realtor. Again, you don't need to think about all this stuff on your own because there could be pitfalls. You know, hey, I don't need a realtor, and I signed the contract. Well, it said your financing has to be done in 24 hours or you lose all your earnest money. You know, that's where a realtor comes in handy. We're not going to do that. They checked a box that said you can get a home inspection, but we don't care. That's where you need a realtor. You know, there's a saying, you got to know which rocks to look under and which rocks to jump over. They're the ones that can help you avoid these pitfalls. Work with a realtor. Yes.
So if it's for sale by owner, I can still have my own realtor and they cannot.
That's
That's why I go with find.
Your realtor represents you.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
My Credit Karma score says I have an 800 FICO. That's not really your credit score. I hate to burst everybody's bubble. I know, I'd like to think it is too. I'd like to think when I go in my bank account and they're like, hey, you can check out your free FICO score. Or, hey, Credit Karma, your credit score's gone up. Good job. I know this hurts. That's not your credit score. It's an algorithm based on your credit score from months and months ago, based on your spending patterns, what they think your credit score is. Anybody know that? That's not your credit score. Sometimes it's close. If you hadn't bought anything, done anything, made any payments, taken any payments, had any inquiries, so on, so on. We've seen people walk in that we've said, your credit score is about a, well, let's be honest, it's about a 480. We need to work on this. But it says on my phone, I have a 680. It's not your credit score. Work with a mortgage person. Develop a plan, knowing the facts. Here's where I am today. Here's where I want to be. How do I get there? Here's where you are today. How do I get there? Yes, ma'am.
So, besides, in addition to debt/income ratios, right, for making your credit score better and not relying on Credit Karma, making your payments on time is critical, right? What can we do to make our
That's earth-shattering.
earth-shattering is it's critical to, if you
Yeah.
do anything, make sure you make your payments on time.
And this is where we try not to over-confuse people. There's a lot of factors that go into what your credit score is. And is it important to getting a mortgage? Absolutely. And it's not our decision. This Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all those names I named, they say, here's the credit scores we have and here's how you calculate people's income. There are a lot of factors that go into making up your credit score, but working with a mortgage person instead of explaining all the algorithms, but basically make your payments on time. Step one, new credit actually brings your credit down. So you've got 3 credit cards, you go out and you get another credit card and you don't even put $1 on it. For a short period of time, your credit score is going to go down. For a short period of time. Why? Because you've said, I need money. I need credit. And so that actually hurts your credit score. Things that help your credit score are not having large balances compared to the amount of credit. So an example I'll give you is, if you have made every payment on your credit cards on time for 10 years, but you have $10,000 limits on credit cards and you maintain a balance of, let's say, $9,500, but I've made every payment on time, perfect credit. That hurts your credit score because you've only got $500 worth of available credit there. If that same person maybe even missed a payment last year or 2 years ago, but they're using $1,000 of their $10,000 available credit, they'll have a better credit score. I didn't invent it. I'm not even saying it's fair. I'm just saying it doesn't matter. You know, work with somebody that can say, here's how we can get your credit score up if you think you have credit problems. This is when this incident's going to come off your credit report. Don't be ashamed. Own it. People think you're going to walk in, get your credit pulled by a mortgage loan officer, and then see them going down the hall like, yo, come here. Oh my God, see this lady? No. We make no money until you buy a home. Our job is to say, here's where you are today. You tell me where you want to be, and we're going to tell you how to get there. We're going to make a plan together. And I guarantee you, everybody's had a ding on their credit for something at some point in their life. Everybody. If you say no, you're lying. So, some things you got to think about, and I know Ron and some others are going to talk about this. There is a cost of home ownership. Very first thing I said when I walked in here is not everybody should be a homeowner. Very first thing I said. It's a weird thing for a mortgage guy to say. Not everybody should be a homeowner. If you're not going to stay, if you don't think you're going to stay there for more than 3 years, it's probably not worth it. You have to pay some taxes, there's closing costs, there's moving and all that fun stuff. I know people just love to pack everything up and move. 3 years is about the right time frame. Today, if your dryer goes on the fritz at the apartment complex, you pick up the phone and say, Beckon, somebody must come fix my dryer. Come fix it, send them immediately. I have clothes I have to dry. And you hang up the phone and go about your day. That doesn't, you're the landlord of your house. You're paying your own rent to yourself in the mortgage payment, but you are the landlord. If it breaks, you have to fix it. We have had people call and say, there's something wrong with my shower to the mortgage company. Like, not too long ago. There's something wrong with the shower in this house. Somehow that call, that might have been the ones that the people laughed at, got to me. And I had a long conversation with the underwriter that approved the loan for the individual who thought we were going to come fix their shower. It's yours, you know. But again, I'm going to point you back. Generational wealth. Yeah, I can't make it sound all rosy and all fun, but this shows you clearly. Go to Federal Reserve, Google it yourself. Go home and say, I'm going to Google average net worth of a homeowner versus renter, because that guy was full of it. 20 articles will pop up citing this study, okay? Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Homeownership in communities has so many side effects, okay? Communities that have more homeowning than renting have what? Less crime, less pollution, better education. Why? Because you're paying for it, you know? You're not as willing to toss the Coke can out the window in the community that you've made your life investment into, right? Don't you take an interest in the education of the children that live down the street that you made your life investment into? Homeownership has side effects in communities, you know, and it's great. It's great. So soak it all in today. Think of questions you have. We can't possibly cover everything, but just give thought to the two things. What do I want, and how do I get there? And if you can answer the first one, talk to a mortgage company. Of course, we want you to talk to us. Talk to a mortgage company, okay? If not us, find somebody. Find somebody qualified and say, this is what I want. Can I do it today? What's my plan? Help me with a plan. And get there. And get there. How many people have bought a home before that are in here? What did you feel like when you closed on your first home? Say again. It's accomplished.
I can't believe I made it.
Yep, yep. It's amazing. It is amazing. You can't take it away. Well, I can if you don't make your payments, but in general, that's a joke. In general, it is the biggest accomplishment financially you can do, more than paying off credit cards, more than investing in Reddit stock, more than buying Bitcoin, okay? Google it yourself. generational wealth, not just for me, not just for my kids, better communities for generations, okay? Think about it. If we can answer any questions for you, I'll be here. We've got other speakers. Please, come on in, Johnny. Any questions before I take off?
We'll take like a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
So everybody can take the restroom and get some food, drinks.
I'll be over here if anybody's got any questions, and then they'll introduce the next speaker.
Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Ron Ross. He is my branch manager. He got me into the business, huge impact of my success today, and he's a down payment assistant advocate of everything. So there you go. Mr. Ron. Welcome.
Rule number 1, loan officers are terribly egotistical people. I am. There are times when I think I might be funny. So if I say something and you think to yourself, I wonder if that was funny, I am probably attempting to be funny. You need to laugh. Great crowd, thank you. You picked up on that one very quickly. Rule number 2. This one's a lot of fun to do. I used to have what I called the Call Ron rule. I originated loans starting in 1994. And there are still people out in the Atlanta marketplace that are very well aware of the Call Ron rule. I wanted phone calls. I wanted everybody to call me. It is my great pleasure to change rule number 2 to the Call Johnny rule. Now, in my world, I have no idea what Johnny's number is, because to me, Johnny's number is Call Johnny Crescent. So for those of you who may not know his number, please write this down. It is 614-373-6632. If you say Call Johnny Crescent in your phone, that will not work. It does for me. Rule number 3, I love questions. There's a lot of stuff in here. I never really know how it's going to come out, but it comes out differently every time. But it doesn't matter what I want to say, it matters whatever you want to know or hear. So if I spark something that generates a question, please interrupt me. The last thing is, it's not a rule, but it's a very well aware thing. I tend to talk a lot and I talk fast. So you got to keep up. What I'm about to do, when I worked for Georgia Dream, I'll explain that in a minute, I would do in about an hour. Now I've got about 15, 20 minutes to condense 2 different programs into 15 or 20 minutes that would normally take me an hour, hour and a half to run through. It's impossible to do that. So again, I'm going to talk fast. When I started originating loans, everybody was originators and I wanted my own little world. Back then, nobody knew how to even spell down payment assistance, and I thought to myself, well, there's my entry into the world. I became an expert in it. Big fish, small pond, that's what I wanted to do, because lots of people didn't want to do down payment assistance, and I got really good at it. I got so good at it that the state of Georgia asked me to work for them, at which I said no the first time. And then they called me back, and it's a long story, but I worked for the state for 9 years, and I was the marketing and training coordinator for the Georgia Dream program, which begs the question, how many people have ever heard of Georgia Dream? Okay, well this next, how many people have heard of Georgia Dream as a mortgage program? Okay, only about 3? Okay, well this is about to fall flat. So I'm going to give you some assignment. Talk to your friends, talk to agents, whatever, ask them about Georgia Dream. You will hear a couple nightmarish stories. I am curious. Those of you who heard of it, have you heard all the bad stuff? It's hard to do. I've got a glare. Really? Okay. So typically, oh my God, it takes forever. There's too much paperwork. You'll never close on time. You will hear that. I promise you. Now, when I heard it as a loan officer, it was the dinner bell going off because I knew how to do them. They're not hard loans to do. But if you're a lender, back to the egotistical people of lenders, you go to a lender and you ask them, can you do Georgia Dream? They're going to say, oh yeah. And then they're going to flounder around, not know what to do. You're not going to close on time. Everyone's going to yell and scream. And you got a bad reputation of Georgia Dream when it wasn't the program's fault. It was the lender who didn't know how to do it. So you got to find a lender who knows how to do it. I'd like to think I bring something to the table at Crescent Mortgage because I did it all those years. So we're very happy to do these loans. My favorite comment on the too much paperwork is you signed 3 forms for a Georgia Dream loan. But you'll hear that all the time. Oh my God, it's the paperwork. 3 forms. In addition, what you do for a normal loan and the real estate contract, 3 forms, dear heavenly days, someone's got to explain to me how that creates a lot of extra paperwork. So please don't be afraid of Georgia Dream loans. What you need to hear is this. It is commonly referred to as a first-time home buyer. There is, oddly enough, a definition for being a first-time home buyer, and that is someone who has not owned a primary residence in the last 3 years. So if you have owned a house in the last 3 years, you cannot do Georgia Dream. This is not even an option. That's the rule of a first-time home buyer. You have to, this is the one where it's tough in this marketplace. Georgia Dream loans can take a little bit longer than a normal, especially in a 21-day market that everybody loves to try to live in. Okay, you're going to just set yourself up for a horrible transaction if that's what you got. So just realize that's an FHA-based loan. It can take a little extra time, and yup, in this market that can make the agent's job a little bit harder, but it is what it is. So just be aware, you can help yourself out as customers by talking to Johnny, making sure that everybody has as much documentation as you can, and the process can speed up a little bit. There are 3 kinds of down payment assistance that they offer. I'll hear this a lot. Oh, it's up to X number of dollars. It's up to this, whatever. $2 amounts, that's all it is. It's either $7,500 in assistance or $10,000. The $7,500 is for anybody that qualifies for the program. If the person on the loan is employed in public safety, education, or healthcare, you get $10,000. So a little stepped up assistance for those people. Very broad definitions of that, so it's not like you have to be a teacher. If your paycheck says DeKalb County Board of Education, $10,000. Doesn't matter what you do, it matters who you get paid for. If anybody in the household receives disability income, you get $10,000. So those are the $2 amounts, $7,500, $10,000. The last thing, you can forget everything I've said other than call Johnny, but please don't forget this. The down payment assistance from Georgia Dream is never, 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 ever, ever forgiven. You will hear that in the marketplace. Oh, it's forgiven after 5 years. Oh, it's forgiven after 10 years, or whatever. No, it's not. This program's been around for 35 years, and it's never been forgiven. When I was there, we would get weekly phone calls. Ron, I just heard that you changed the rules, Georgia Dream, blah, 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 forgiven. No, it's not forgiven, never has been. Now, here are the rules. Whether you get $7,500 or $10,000, it's a credit to the entire transaction. So we figure out whatever the closing costs and down payment are going to be, and then reduce that by the down payment assistance, and then that's how much money you need. For the record, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to need any money. Nope, not the way that works either. You're going to need money, but not as much as if you didn't use the program. Back in the day when sellers were paying closing costs, yep, you could get into a deal where you didn't need much money at all. Or right now, realtors in the room, would you care to comment on how likely it is to get a seller to pay closing costs right now?
Impossible.
Well, there's the word impossible. Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah, really, really hard, borderline impossible. So without sellers paying any closing costs, even when you're using down payment assistance, you're still going to need money. But the thing to never, ever, ever forget is it's not forgiven. With Georgia Dream, it is a freebie to this extent. Pardon me, 0% interest, no monthly payments. It's just hanging there on the house as a second mortgage, what the industry calls a silent second, meaning no payments, no accrued interest. You own the house for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, pay it off. Don't care. Good for you. Somebody's going to pay that assistance back to the state of Georgia, and an exact amount that you were given. If it's $7,500, you sell the house, they'll withhold $7,500 from the proceeds, give it back to the state. So it's not like you're writing an extra check, it just gets withheld from the sale proceeds. And by the way, as a taxpayer, you should like that. Georgia Dream, it doesn't get talked about too much. Big fan, by the way, you probably picked that up already. It doesn't use taxpayer money. It's self-funding. It's a huge success story for the state of Georgia, because it just helps people buy houses over all these years, and that's one of the ways. The money that's given out in assistance comes back to them to give somebody else. So it just continually rolls on itself. They recently updated their website and their brochure. So there is a test. What is rule number 2? Louder. Ah, very good. So if anybody would like the brochure that they're updating right now, call Johnny, email Johnny, text Johnny. They do have a brochure with all the particulars on there. You're not trying to become an expert in it now. And then the other program I'm about to talk about, same thing. Just ask them to send you any of those information, be happy to send it to you. So first-time home buyer, the money's paid back. There are income limits. They are based on the household. If you have spouse A living in the household and spouse A is on the loan, great. Spouse B, maybe the credit's not so hot. They're not going to be on the loan, but living in the household, combined, that is household income. You have to be super careful about that. You can't say, yeah, but I'm the only one on the loan. Nope, not what they care about. Household income. Everybody living in the house, every penny accounted for. So the income limits, I am going to use, no, it's over there, I'm going to have to wing it. The income limit for 1 or 2 people, $86,000 in the Atlanta marketplace. 3 or more, I believe it's $93,500. If those aren't exact, please excuse me. They're really, really close. So those are the income limits for the area. You got to be under there. Thank you. I'll test in a minute to see how good I am. I'm scared to look, but those are close. It's 86 for 1 or 2, 93.5 for 3 or more. You can use it anywhere in the state. Obviously, we're in the Atlanta marketplace. If you're looking around here, it can be used here with those income limits. On the chance you go outside of Metro Atlanta, the income limits do go down. You also have to complete a home buyer education course, which is a little lengthy. It's online. It will take hours to complete, but it's an outstanding course for the record. You will learn a lot if you want to take it. If you have time, I would encourage you to take a look at taking it because you will learn a lot. It does cost $50. For the record, that is a discounted rate. Georgia Dream negotiated a rate with them. It's normally $99. They discounted it to $50 if you go through a link that you can find out by. Okay, good there, good crowd. The last thing on Georgia Dream is this. By the way, sometimes I just get tickled at myself. I don't know what comes out. So anyway, just understand it's a great loan. It's not going to cover everything. You're still going to need money. In this marketplace, if they were in the room with me, I would say in the front, it is a little tough in this marketplace because for whatever reason, lots of sellers don't like the idea of an FHA loan. If you want to see me get excited and be here for another 2 hours, get me on that topic. But I understand it's real. There's nothing wrong with an FHA loan. There are people who think the appraisal is going to be bad, appraisal is going to be lower, take long. No, 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 no. It's just a different process, but I know as agents, you're fighting that with listing agents, that some of them just don't want an FHA loan. So hard market to make Georgia Dream work, but it's there. Please consider it. The other program by name, if you want to write it down, it is kind of a unique name. Let me spell it and then I'll pronounce it. It's C-H-E-N as in Nancy, O-A. Chenoa is how they pronounce it. It is another down payment assistance program that has its own guidelines, not near as restrictive as Georgia Dream. It's also a nationwide program. You can use it all sorts of places. I'm going to be very blunt at Chenoa's expense. If they were in the room, I'd say it to them also. This business is a great analogy for a scale. As one side goes up, the other one goes down, and it's going back in there. It is not our place to say what's right or wrong, or good or bad. Our job is to provide options. I can say this with all sincerity. Specific to Chenoa, if you can fund your loan any other way, you'll get a better deal. Chenoa is a little bit of a last-ditch possibility. Now, that doesn't make it bad. They do a tremendous job at what they're there to do. And what they're there to do is help people buy houses with the least money out of pocket. And they do that. You will be out of pocket the least amount of money going through Chenoa as opposed to anything else you could do. If you do it, I would encourage you not to go to a dinner party and say, guess what interest rate I just got? Because what do you think happens? Louder.
It's higher?
Aha, thank you. It's a good bit higher. If you use Chenoa, the rate is higher than a market rate loan. The down payment assistance they give you is a second mortgage with a payment. I like round numbers, so just work with me for a minute. If you're buying a $300,000 house, it is an FHA structure, so you'd have to have 3.5% down on paper, so that's whatever it is, $11,000, what have you. They will give you $15,000 towards the transaction. So you've just achieved 100% financing. There's no down payment that's coming out of your pocket. They're also going to give you another 1.5% to lower your closing costs. So you're going to have the first mortgage plus 5% of the purchase price as a second mortgage. So the least money out of pocket than anything else you're going to look at. But you take a higher rate on the first, a payment on the second, and overall you have a much higher payment than had you been able to fund your own loan. Now, just as an example, we had a customer one time who actually had plenty of money to close their loan on this house. And I just couldn't help myself. And I said, do you mind me getting in your business just for a moment? And I said, you do know that you could close this with your own money. The rate would be this, and your monthly payment would be, in his case, about $300 lower a month. Now, to me, I'm writing the check. I'm writing the check and saving $300 a month, and I absolutely felt that's where he was going to go to. His response back to me was, Ron, A, thank you for bringing it up. I understand you're thinking you're saving me money. He said, tell you the truth, I thought you were going to say it was $500 a month more, and I'm okay with that. I want my money. I want my money in the bank, and I want to do what I want to do with my money. If you're going to give me the money and my payment's higher, I don't care. I was like, wow, I just learned something. So again, it's not right or wrong. It is very personal how you want to manage the money. So it's another option on the table. Shinoa will absolutely be the least amount of money out of pocket. And if that's what your goal is, buy a house with the least amount of money out of pocket.
Call Johnny.
Thank you. Call Johnny, and we'll put the numbers together. And just with all due respect, much humor as I can muster, don't look at the rate. I mean, the rate's just higher. It is what it is. But you'll get in the house with the least amount of money out of pocket. And here, don't get me wrong, I can go on forever. I love this business. Dear heavenly days, I love this business. I love talking about it. I always have. Down payment assistance has always been near and dear to my heart. And there was a time where that was all I pretty much did. So I love it, but I do have, I guess, technically a fourth rule. When I say you can ask me questions, somebody better ask me a question or I'm going to get my feelings hurt. So ask your question.
Okay, so the first one is the Georgia Dream.
Yes.
The second one, you mentioned FHA, right? Is that with the PMI and then versus the one I can't pronounce and I didn't have time to spell it right now?
Okay. I'm going to come back over here to answer. Yeah, it kind of set that up that like there were 3 products, and that's not right. Yeah, 2. The 2 mortgage products are Georgia Dream, and then the odd wording sound is Shinoa. Those are the 2 products. Both of them are structured as FHA loans. So if you used either one of them, you would have FHA mortgage insurance in the loan. I got a big question.
I have a question.
Yes, sir?
So, Ron's obviously much older than me, so he's been doing
Oh, thank you.
That's fine. So, in your experience, and this is a crazy market, right? And that's one of the things I didn't really touch on. It is a crazy market. Most houses are on the market for less than 30 days today for the first time in like ever. And Manny will tell you, most of them probably less than 10 days, right? We're going like this. So, if, let's say I've got perfect credit, down payment, and I'm ready to go, and I see the house I want, but I'm going to put an offer on it, but I hadn't talked to the mortgage lender yet. That's option A. The question's not done yet. or maybe I've had a blemish, maybe I've had to work on it, but I've made the plan. I've already talked to the mortgage lender. We are ready to go, and when I see that house on the market, I can make an offer in 5 minutes with my pre-qualified mortgage letter. Whose offer are they going to accept?
We're going to talk to the lender first.
Yep.
Does the seller want to put a contract on a house even at a higher amount if they don't know if
Nope.
No, you don't have to be the better buyer. You have to be the more prepared buyer. I just answered my own question.
Yep. I'll add one little thing to that. If you think you want to do Georgia Dream loans, that is absolutely scenario, or snow, whatever, any kind of down payment assistance. That's a scenario where the customer can help greatly in how fast and easily the process goes. So when we say we need 30 days of pay stubs, if you send me 6 months ago pay stub, that doesn't help. You know, if we ask for bank statements and you send me a screenshot of your balance, that doesn't help. So if you think you want to do Georgia Dream, and you know, he will very politely make you get as fully documented as you can with everything up front. So when you do make an offer, it's an easier offer to try to get it better accepted. Let me jump in for a second. Let's see if I was right. Oh, I was wrong, dandy. At the Atlanta marketplace, for 1 or 2 people, $84,000. For 1 or 2 people, 3 or more, $96,000. I was right on that one. Max purchase price, by the way, for Georgia Dream is $325,000. Shinoa actually has higher income limits. You can go up to about 116 on Shinoa. So both great programs, both out there to do. One last shot for a question. Humor me, somebody. Or, by the way, I didn't mean to cut off. Yeah.
Want to be a rant? Are there grants, like, instead of loan programs, are there grant programs, like, in Georgia that use?
Oh, okay. Yeah, the question was, was there more to the question?
No.
Okay. Yeah, the question was, are there grants? Actually, that's an outstanding question. It's semantics for a moment, but give me a minute. The term down payment assistance is very specific in its wording versus the use of a grant. When you hear the word grant, you typically think it's forgiven. Well, here's some money, you don't have to pay it back. That would be the perfect definition of a grant. Okay, Georgia Dream is not a grant. Shinoa, not a grant. Are there grants in the marketplace? There have been. If anyone's looking in this, well, where's Fowler? Oh, you're still here. No, you can sit over there. The city of Atlanta has some interesting programs. I mean, I've just been doing this so long that I know they're interesting. They're pretty involved if you want to jump through all the hoops. Some of their programs really are a grant and could be forgiven, but they're terribly restrictive in what you have to do. I'm not saying they're bad, they're actually pretty good, but you got to be careful with it. There's only a handful of lenders that do it, and we're not one of them, and I encourage Fowler, we really don't want to do them.
One of the issues with the true grant programs are that you can only qualify for it if you're under certain income levels.
Yes,
But then you almost
which are lower.
buy the house unless you're over that income level. So when we used to see these things, it ended up making more consumers mad than happy, you know? And if I've got to make 10 people mad by saying, well, you make too much money for the grant, but not enough money to buy the house, and try to explain that to 10 people for the one person, then it's like, you're the unicorn that this actually fits for. You know, again, any of the down payment on these programs, get from a family member. Don't call Uber Eats for 6 months. Just don't do it. You know what I mean? You do not need the 20.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. If you can fund the down payment any other way, better deal. One other thing, just quick on grant, I'm going to make the assumption that being here, you're interested mostly in the city or the area of Atlanta or North Georgia. I'm just aware of around the state. Columbus actually has a grant program, Columbus, Georgia, and so does Savannah. So there are some out there. Anything else? Awesome. By the way, I can't resist. My son used to travel around with me a little bit, and he's heard me talk, whatever, and I made the comment one time around him that I only had 20 minutes to make a presentation. He looked me right in the eye and he said, Dad, you can't introduce yourself in 20 minutes. So I have a tendency to talk a lot. Thank you very much.